Now, it's not quite as exciting or as catchy as the winner is Sydney, but effectively, Queensland's been told that it's going to get the Olympics in 2032. Let's find out what Queenslanders think of it by catching up with our good friend Campbell Newman, who's not only been Lord Mayor of Brisbane, but Premier of the great Sunshine State. Good to talk to you, Campbell. Is this really going to happen?
Look, I think it is, Chris, unless the chieftains of the IOC change their minds. And I'm one of those people who's very, very excited about it. I think it's a great thing for the state, and of course it's great for Brisbane.
Yeah, it's a different way to do it from the old ballot, and announcing that Sydney had won. This is a much more gradual. It's essentially saying that Brisbane's the preferred tenderer, as I read it, and Brisbane's just got to sort of prove itself, and everything will go ahead. And given you've just successfully staged the Commonwealth Games, and you've done that before anyway, I imagine everything's pretty much on track.
Well, this whole thing started, by the way, Chris, and I'll answer the question in this way, that basically the mayors of South East Queensland, who really cover, I think from last count was like 1 in 7 Australians live in South East Queensland. And the mayors, led by Lord Mayor Graham Quirk at the time, Mayor of Brisbane, they sort of came together and actually started to work on this and put this forward, and encouraged by John Coates, the IOC. Adrian Schrinner, the current Lord Mayor's taken the baton, somewhat belatedly, but thankfully the Premier got on board. And so it was pitched as, if you like, the economical games, if I could call that, using, as you've just alluded, the existing venues that are out there across the greater Brisbane area, covering, of course, the Sunshine Coast and the Gold Coast as well. That collaboration by the mayors, that the focus on doing this in a sensible way is, we would think, the way of the future. And I think at the same time, the good thing was that the IOC realised that cities were being turned off. This was crippling cities around the world to stage the games, and they literally weren't getting a lineup of people wanting to do it. So timing was good, and the pitch was good, it seems, and let's just hope it doesn't fade in some way in the final furlong.
Yeah, the Australian Olympic Committee are saying that it's all very affordable. People shouldn't be too worried about massive expenditure and debt that we've seen from Olympic Games in the past. Does that mean that it will largely focus on existing facilities? Does this mean that Brisbane would host the Games, or South East Queensland would host the Games, presumably without a massive new sort of 100,000 people stadium, or will some of those developments come through as well?
Well, in terms of the stadium, they're talking about an upgrade of facilities like the Gabba, but they're not talking about, that I can understand, I don't think that I've seen a massive injection of capital into those sort of facilities. And there are so many there. I mean, we had the 82 Com Games as well, so there was a legacy from that era. So I think it's about making sure that the current facilities are fit for purpose, bit of upgrade work. I think the bigger issue is the supporting infrastructure, particularly transport, and perhaps accommodation infrastructure, but the private sector can deal with the latter. I'd be more concerned about the big ticket items being investments in public transport and road infrastructure. And this is a growing city. It needed it anyway, and arguably roads like the M1 to the Gold Coast are well overdue for an upgrade. Deb Frecklington in the election campaign last year, the LNP were talking about an alternative to the M1, a duplication. Palaszczuk's been talking about it as well. Well, it's got to happen now. We've got to see that commitment with hard dollars. And similarly, the road to the North Coast, to the Sunshine Coast, needs to be upgraded, as well as rail to the Sunshine Coast. Yeah,
well, it's fantastic news, and I agree with you. It's that sort of infrastructure around broader southeast Queensland will probably be focused on, and there's plenty of time to gear up for this. What do you reckon will be the mascot for the Queensland Games? Will it be like a crocodile or Clive Palmer?
I don't know about that, Chris. Well, I'm sure the marketers have got something in mind, but I'll just say one thing, and I've got a sort of a dual sort of background here. A lot of people are aware that I grew up in Tasmania. I can tell you now the Tasmanians still, you'll find people are deeply offended about the 82 Com Games, where Tasmania was left off the map during the opening ceremony. And that cannot ever happen again. So just a plug for Tassie.
They won't let anyone in there. They've still got their border closed in Tassie. Actually, before I let you go...
Well, that is the other issue. Some wag this morning was, I think, I was watching the ABC, some wag had tweeted or posted something anyway, was just pondering whether that Anastasia Palaszczuk would have opened the border by 2032. Let's hope that she will.
Yeah, that could be a real stumbling block. Now, on the costs, I think Pauline Hanson has campaigned against this bid previously. I've spoken to her before. She said the state can't afford it. This is going to be crucial, isn't it? I think a lot of people will be happy about this, pleased about this, but they're going to need to be the affordable games. They need to be cost effective.
They do have to be affordable. And I was, by the way, always really disappointed that Pauline had taken that particular position on this issue, because the state's capital has come of age, and this particularly underlines that. And as I said before, it's growing. The infrastructure that's required to support the games, that's going to be expensive, is required anyway. The public transport and road upgrades are essential when we've got we've got net positive interstate migration coming into southeast Queensland again. I think with what Daniel Andrews has done, by the way, we'll see more refugees departing Victoria and coming up here. And I think that's showing up already in, for example, the housing market. But, the infrastructure that's required is required anyway. The sporting infrastructure, in the way that they're proposing this, will deal with the requirements of the IOC and, shouldn't see us spending big on those sort of items. So I say that's why this is a good thing for southeast Queensland, and the CapEx was required anyway to support the growing population.
Thanks for joining us, Campbell. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Chris.
Campbell Newman there. Fantastic news. Anytime Australia can get the Olympics, I'm on board, and Queensland's going to be a ripper there with all those caveats about costs, but surely most of us couldn't wait for the, not Matilda this time, I reckon the crocodile ought to be the emblem. We will see.